What's up, everyone? Welcome to This Week in Baseball with Loro and Ben Curse. And on today's episode, we are going to be talking about some more spring training baseball, and then our next episode will be happening on Thursday night for more. So I meant Friday. I'll decide that after the show. Just kidding. So Ben, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. How are you doing, Loro?
Doing great. And what you got right there for food? You got some snacks for tonight's show?
Well, I'm getting over for a little bit of a cold here, so I'm having coldies actually.
Oh, I hope you feel better, by the way. But I mean,
I'm doing fine. Yeah, it's allergies really. So.
Well, we're from afar, so at least we have the technology to keep us safe.
Yeah.
So, anyways, with that being said, let's talk about some spring training baseball here. So, Freddie Freeman made his debut for the Dodgers today, and he hit a single in his first game as a Dodger. But the Dodgers, however, fell to the Reds 10-8. But it's spring training. You know the Reds are going to be that bad.
Yeah, no, I didn't watch any of the game, so I can't really analyze in terms of how it went. But yeah, really a lot of these games, like I said last episode, is to get the reps in and kind of see how the new guys kind of turn out to be, getting acclimated with new teammates. And, obviously it's cool to see Freddie in a different place. Tough to see Atlanta fans see him in a different place, but, Dodger fans kind of got to see a little glimpse of what he is in a different uniform, got to see him a couple at bats, but obviously things are going to look a lot different when it gets to the real stuff.
Anyways, let's take a look at the Red Sox schedule here. The Red Sox are 5-0 in Cactus League play with a win over the Tampa Bay Rays today. I mean, what's clicking for the Red Sox? You mean 6-0, right?
Yeah.
What's clicking for the Red Sox early this spring?
I mean, like you said, it's spring training. So like I obviously want to celebrate more about it. Don't want to obviously, things are obviously going to be ups and downs. Cool to see them not lose yet. Probably will happen soon, but I'm enjoying all the W's as of right now, and obviously seeing different guys, like Bobby Dahlbeck and Christian Arroyo and a couple other guys kind of build off of what they did from last year. Hopefully they got some playing time in because obviously Red Sox got a new big fish that we're going to talk about, which I'm very excited about. So obviously you can see a lot of the guys that maybe played a little bit more last year, not play as much this year because of how good this player that the Red Sox just got will kind of fill in the voids of some other guys getting less playing time. So, I'm excited to see how they've been as of right now, but it's going to be a really tough division, and obviously it's great to see them being undefeated in spring training. I don't know if they do like a spring training World Series or cute duck field type of thing, but we'd be pretty good so far as of right now in the spring. But like I said, it's just really spring training is just kind of just getting guys acclimated to reps and seeing how guys do, and then from there, like I said, just getting really excited for the season in a couple weeks.
Yeah, well, with that being said, we're going to stay on your Boston Red Sox for a moment here, as Trevor Story just signed a contract with the Boston Red Sox to kind of fill their second base needs. And if Xander Bogaerts leaves next offseason, he can just slide over to shortstop, which could likely happen, but we'll see. What's your thoughts on Trevor Story joining the Boston Red Sox? Does he prefer playing shortstop, or is he going to give second base a try because he knows how much Xander Bogaerts means for the Boston Red Sox?
Yeah, it's obviously I got the news actually from work out of all things. It was funny because it was a Saturday. This past Saturday, a lot of the speculation story because obviously between him and Conforto, they're like the last kind of two big guys, and I don't know. I kind of lost some faith in a way in terms of Story maybe coming just because like the Rangers, the Astros are kind of be coming in, more suitors were coming in. So I was in a group chat with a bunch of Red Sox fans, and I just kind of said, because I even told you on the baseball show, I said expect Story to make a decision, either by Sunday or Monday of this coming week. And lo and behold, I'm at the break room at my work, and all of a sudden I get a big text from one of my college friends, a Red Sox fan. He said the Trevor Story signed. My eyes just, got a little bit bigger, got a little more excited, and it's obviously nice because the big narrative as of right now around the Boston Red Sox GM is they don't sign anybody big and they don't go out and spend like they used to, and I think it's a great move for the Red Sox, a Heim Blue type move where they needed a righty bat, as they said that they wanted to find a guy. And, this guy's been kind of around the league for a long period of time here, with Colorado. I think two Silver Slugger Award, batting title. So, he's definitely can hit for power. He has a good amount of speed. And obviously, his really good defense is going to be a huge part to this team. Obviously, the biggest thing, too, is about Bogarts, his impact. And that's why personally I didn't know if he was going to come to Boston because Story is known for a shortstop. And Xander Bogaerts has said this past week that he wants to still be shortstop. So it sounded like the both guys kind of talked it out, and it sounds like it's going to be really fun. That another thing too, Loro, is Story's had a little bit of elbow problems, so it actually is not the worst move for Story to play second, just because he doesn't have to go too far. I mean, really, the farthest that he's going to have to go is in between second and short, where him and Bo Rich playing to do like a double play or something. But it's an awesome move for the Red Sox. Like I said, I put that Bleach Report. They predict actually Story to come to the Red Sox. So I mean, now we actually can make this as a reality. They actually haven't announced Story yet. Via like Twitter and stuff, but like it's official. It's really exciting. And we'll see how things go. It's a six. The deal too was a really good steal. A 6-year, $140 million. There is an opt out after the fourth year. But I'm really excited. And now we just have kind of see if they can keep Xander and Rafael Devers, because you have those two guys for the long term. You have Story there for 5 years plus. I mean, this could be one of the best infields in baseball. Not saying my bias aside. This is just stating the facts in a way of you got essentially three guys that are really good star players. Obviously, first base, Costa's going to be coming up soon. We don't know yet in terms of him, but obviously he's very promising from, on the minors. So I'm really excited time as a Red Sox fan. Obviously, pitching is still a concern way, especially now Sale being out. But the lineup should not have any problems scoring runs now, especially now you add a guy like Story. It should make it even more fun.
Basically, what that means now that Trevor Story is now in second base, this is what's going to be your Red Sox starting outfield's going to look like. Kike Hernandez in center field. I would put Alex Verdugo in right, and in left field JBJ. But I don't think I would put Kike in center. I would shift Kike to left field because he's played some left field when he was with my Dodgers. I would put him in left, and I would put JBJ in center, and then Verdugo in right.
Yeah, so this is what I'm kind of questioning because now with Story, being kind of infield, it takes away Christian Arroyo's bat. Which personally I think Christian Arroyo is better actually as a platoon guy, just because as much as I love Christian Arroyo, he just cannot stay healthy. So you obviously can use as much as you can and not try to waste a lot of his ball on himself out in the field. But he could put him in when a guy needs a day off or two. Kike obviously could play second too. But now personally, Laura, I think Verdugo and Kike are kind of locks in the outfield. From outfield as well too. Remember Jaron Duran? Jaron Duran obviously played last year as a prospect. I think JBJ they're going to keep as a starter, but I think it's just because of the defense, really, right? I personally think the way I see this right now is Verdugo probably being left, JBJ possibly in right actually, and then Kike in center. Just because I don't think Duran's going to probably be a starter, and I think they want to get as much as they can to best defensively. Verdugo, I think, fits better in lefts, and then JBJ probably could play right just because he's played center, so he obviously understands. And obviously, he can kind of play the Hunter Renfroe role because Hunter Renfroe played right field, and obviously he showed his arm there. But you can kind of go different ways. I definitely could see Verdugo in right. Center field is just only the position for Verdugo that kind of scares me, just because I saw it at personal live in person. Verdugo playing center, let's just say, wasn't too pretty. Yeah, to be fair, it was a very, very sunny day. I mean, it was just like, so some of the things, he got maybe caught lost in the sun, but he definitely, it was an adventure. Let's just say for myself, seeing Verdugo in center, I would personally, there's a couple of guys, when Kike actually replaced Verdugo after actually the game I was at, and, Bradley obviously there, just kind of the a little bit of ins and outs of the park, I think a little more comfortable that way. So the best thing about this Red Sox team is they have a lot of pieces, a starter kind of as locks, but you also have some bench pieces that, have been kind of around for a couple of years. And obviously, Cora and Bloom really like JBJ. And obviously, the bats, obviously not very good. He's had some postseason heroics here and there, which is definitely, you know, but you look at this lineup, and I think the 1 through 6 is pretty deadly overall. Especially if JD Martinez can kind of be to JD Martinez level, I think he could be really good still. But it's just their
thing with
defense.
JD Martinez is he's not a 4 hitter. I prefer him as a 5 hitter because JD Martinez can hit doubles off the green monster and drive in runs because that 5 spot is kind of a run producer kind of lineup. That's what I see JD Martinez as. He is a run producer.
No, I 100% agree, Laura. I personally think the lineup goes as follows because Cora really likes to
like
put.
when we reset the lineup for the Red Sox, I have Kike leading off and playing left field, and then hitting second is Alex Verdugo playing right.
Like
And
right,
then
left, yeah.
third I have is Xander. I keep Xander up there. And then I have Rafael Devers hitting fourth and playing third base. Then JD Martinez will hit fifth and DH. Hitting sixth, I have Trevor Story. And then hitting seventh, I have Bobby Dalbec. And hitting eighth, I have Christian Vasquez. And then JBJ hitting ninth.
So you mentioned one guy that should be in the lineup almost every day, if not, and that's Alex Verdugo. So I
said Alex Verdugo. I said Alex Verdugo in right field, batting second.
Oh, that's right. Sorry about that. I just completely maybe forgot. No, I know. I like that lineup, because Cora really likes to go right, left for a lot of his lineups. I personally think, and this is just me, because Evers has batted second here in the past, but I personally like Verdugo too. I really like Kike Verdugo back to back. So my projected lineup.
I mean, if you look at it, two of those guys were former favorite Dodger players of mine.
I'm glad we can treat him, like you guys for Mookie, because as I'm definitely getting over Mookie in a bit, sorry, not sorry, Mookie. I still love you, buddy. But obviously the return is kind of, I'm not saying healed it in a way, but Kike and Verdugo have really kind of help this team kind of move forward just because of how productive that these players can still be. Obviously, they're not Mookie level, and Mookie, if used in this lineup, could be a lot better than Kike and Verdugo. But they're both two guys that can just bring something each to the table, and now you have kind of your top two guys, I think, for your lineup for future to come. So I think Kike Verdugo is 1-2. I like Rafael Devers batting third, and then Xander batting fourth. That's just me, though. You can go kind of different ways in the kind of the Hardy order, just because both Xander and Rafi can just get guys in. But I love your JD pick in 5. When they had the postseason this past year, I think they really had JD batting fifth a lot, and I think he did really well with that. Especially if you got like OPP guys like Xander and Rafi getting on a lot. That just loves for JD to be in that spot. And then you have Trevor Story. Now you add that 6th guy. And, if JD's on base, or you have base load situation and you have Story coming up, this guy is one pitch away from knocking out of the park, or getting. He definitely puts the ball in play. That's another thing about Story I really like. He's a contact hitter. Yes, there's been stats in the past that he has some problems with strikeouts, but hey, I'm taking a guy. He's batted 250 plus almost every single season in his career. 250 average for a guy that's a six hitter and has really good defense. I'll take that any day of the week. And he usually has about 20 to 30 home runs each season. So, I mean, you're having that for your six hitter or five hitter. I mean, you're doing really well. And I think for the Red Sox fans, after obviously you lose Kyle Schwarber, which is, I think, going to really be a tough one because he's a really good guy that gets on base, doesn't strike out a lot. He walks a lot. And then obviously, trying to think of the other guy that was
So you
but besides that.
and
And
then
then after Story, I have Bobby Dahlbeck at 7. And then I have Christian Vasquez at 8 or Ken Plecki at 8. I usually like the catcher spot in the 8 hole. I just always kind of like it that way. And then JBJ batting 9. I think JBJ as a 9 here is a really good because, as much as you kind of criticize the guy, at least for myself, I think that, in the past he's been the 9 hitter. And the only really 2 spots the Red Sox have ever kind of used JBJ is either the leadoff hole or the 9 hitter. The leadoff hole for him is only
Jackie Bradley Jr. leading off. I have him 9th just because he can hit and then he can steal bases in that bottom of the order. And I think that it's good for him to be back in Boston. Although I like Hunter Renfroe in Boston, I think that Hunter Renfroe is going to be a great fit for the Milwaukee Brewers and for him to hit long balls in that ballpark at American Family Field.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go to Fangraphs. I don't know if you use this website, but it's excellent for baseball stats. You can use like for analysis for it. But I'm going to see here.
Anyways, while you look that up, the Boston Red Sox are going to salute your favorite color commentator of all time who passed away last November, Jerry Remy, with season-long patches wearing Remy 2. And there is going to be a pregame ceremony on the 20th at home against the Toronto Blue Jays at Fenway Park. I know that you want to reflect on Jerry Remy and what he's meant in your life, what he's meant to the Boston Red Sox and Nesson. He's made it so much fun for all the fans of the Boston Red Sox in Boston or wherever you are in Connecticut, New Hampshire, Vermont. Jerry Remy was the heart and soul of those broadcasts. And I don't know who I like him better with. If I had to choose, is he better with Dave O'Brien or is he better with Don Orsillo?
Well, first of all, I'd just like to just say that it's really classy for one of my favorite teams. Well, it is my favorite team, but just the tribute that this team's been doing. It'd be actually pretty cool if they the home opener, which, like I said, I'm going to be fortunate to be actually at this season. They actually get the chance to wear those jerseys. I think that'd be extremely cool. I wouldn't be also surprised if they kind of do like a little tribute as well to honor Jerry. Obviously, the unfortunate passing that happened for himself, and it's obviously still surreal to kind of see, obviously, what he kind of did in his career, his broadcasting career. Was awesome, great broadcaster for not only for the Red Sox but just for the city of Boston. And obviously your question in terms of which one does he prefer with, I mean, they're both extremely good. When Don actually left, I didn't really know how I would like Dave O'Brien. I wouldn't say really was like excited, but like I just didn't really know what to expect because Don Orsillo was just that good. It was obviously just growing up for him.
Don Orsillo, he's in my division now. He's now the primary play-by-play announcer for the San Diego Padres, and he's known as Don Diego.
Yeah, no, Don was for sure just a very just great announcer. A lot of different, he just makes it a lot of fun. And I'm not saying Dave O'Brien doesn't because he kind of has his own personality, but the transition was a little slow for me, kind of just getting it adjusted, but I definitely for sure adjusted to Dave O'Brien. And, Dave O'Brien does a really good job for the Red Sox. And I think Jerry did a great job color commentating for both of them. So, obviously, like to send my regards to him and his family, obviously, through this very tough time. So I'd say, because it's obviously it's been maybe a month or two, with this, but until before his passing happened, or since it's happened, I guess you could say. And it just still feels surreal that he's not with us anymore. But for sure,
Basically,
he's still
what
with
you're
us in
saying
our
is
hearts.
that the broadcast for Nesson will not be the same without Jerry Remy.
Absolutely not. No,
Because he had the personality, he had the greatest sense of humor. When I've heard him, when I've watched
yeah.
Red Sox games on MLB Network, when before a
Mhm.
Dodger game, I would hear Jerry Remy on the call at times, and he
Yep.
does a great job with the Boston Red Sox. And he's had numerous health issues. He had
Mhm.
cancer. He
Yep.
fought. He fought until he couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah. No, it's obviously he kind of was more of a part-time announcer for the last couple of seasons before it unfortunately passed away because he was in the hospital a lot for his chemo treatments, and he was a fighter, like you said, man. And that's why I love Jerry even more because he went as far as he could, without saying, listen, I personally feel like I can't do it anymore. And that's
He
obviously.
still, even though he had cancer treatment, he still was able to find a way to continue to work in the booth.
Yeah, yeah, and like I said, that's why it's going to be very hard to replace a guy like him, is because he really kind of showed, regardless of what he was going through, he was trying to fight it out. And actually, I don't know if you remember this, but um, before the Yankee Red Sox 163 game, Jerry Remy actually threw out the first
Are you talking
ceremonial
about the
pitch.
wild card game when he threw it to Eckersley?
Yep, and I couldn't help but kind of bring a tear to my eye just because it was a long couple months for him, and it was just really good to kind of see his face, and spirits were still kind of there. You know, it's obviously it's a guy that, just like I said, went through so much, and obviously when I heard that he unfortunately passed away, it was a really sad day for me. It's still obviously kind of sad, just kind of know that he's not with us anymore, but I know for sure he'll still for sure be in us in our hearts, and he'll always be a Red Sox legend to Red Sox Nation, be a legend to me. And I can't wait to see kind of what they tribute for him, not only for this season, but for many seasons to come. Maybe they do like a road or something after him, or maybe they kind of do like some patches, the team
Yeah,
store.
they're
But
doing patches
what I
with his number 2 because he used to play for the Red Sox. But when it comes to him replacing him on the broadcast at Nesson, Dennis Eckersley is going to be the primary color analyst with Dave O'Brien. Ellis Burks is going to be on there. You're also going to see some appearances from Jonathan Papelbon. And I watched this player play for the Red Sox. He was your first baseman. He's Tom Brady's brother-in-law, Kevin Youkilis.
yeah, it's like I said, nobody can replace Jerry Remy. But Dennis Eckersley was kind of like a fill-in, and he did a pretty good job. I'm also a big. You probably have listened to this other guy before. He does some Notre Dame basketball. He's also done a
Are you talking
couple.
about Will Fleming or Joe Costiglione?
Actually, neither. Um, this is actually a guy that does like on air, like
You
baseball.
you
That's
mean Mike
Mike
Mon?
Monaco.
He fills in for he does games when Dave O'Brien is away.
Yeah, but I also heard that maybe Mike Monaco might do some games maybe with them this season too, because I don't know personally if Dennis Eckersley is going to do all of them, just because he has a ton of other guys that Nesson essentially offered a ton of different type of guys. You also missed on a couple. It's okay,
Or
just
are you
because I
talking
don't
about
know.
like Lenny DiNardo and Ellis
Lenny,
Burks?
yeah. So obviously the Red Sox pregame show, they have typically it's Jim Rice, Lenny DiNardo, and Tom Karen. And so
I thought Tom Karen also did stuff for the Patriots too.
no, that's actually Tom E. Curran. Tom Karen is they're two different people. I could definitely see where you got mixed up there, but yeah.
I got mixed
Um,
up because Tom Karen also does some New England Patriots stuff, and then Tom
yep,
E. Karen does Patriots, and I definitely think that Red Sox Nation will not be the same without Jerry Remy and his
nope,
spirit and his energetic broadcasts when he was in the booth. Him and Don Orsillo were great together,
yep,
and he was somewhat good with Dave O'Brien,
yep,
and I think that the Red it's going to be tough to replace him. But anyways, now that being said here, I talked about this on Wild Sports Talk last night, and there was a letter detailing a 2017 investigation into the New York Yankees will become a public document. 2 years after a federal judge ruled it should be unsealed, plaintiffs in a lawsuit over a daily fantasy ramifications of electronic sign stealing in baseball alleged that a 2017 news release from Commissioner Rob Manfred hid the full findings of what MLB discovered the Yankees have done. The letter's impending release will reveal any differences between what Manfred said public about his findings and what was related in private. Basically, we have to talk about this. Are they kind of like the Houston Astros now? Because you know that the Yankees got caught with the Apple Watch scandal with Boston. The Houston Astros obviously had their sign stealing scandal, and now they're revealing information on the New York Yankees.
Yeah, I mean, let's be real. Theoretically, many teams tend to do some unorthodox type of things, and it's obviously a way of I would say taking it for advantage. But if you happen to feel like you want to use something, even though it's not right, I never think it's right to cheat on anything. That's why I've never been a fan of not liking the Houston Astros, just because of their whole situation. Just never liked it, even though we have a former Astros coach or manager. Sorry. Essentially,
That's Alex Cora was the bench coach for the Astros during that sign stealing scandal that led him to be suspended for that whole 2020 season.
Yeah, no. The biggest thing about the Cora situation was he got caught. People tend to think that Cora was part of, this cheating with the Red Sox. It was more of he got caught more from the Astros situation. So I mean, he essentially kind of got punished. They even punished him for a full season, which happened to only be managing from Ron Renicky, who did a decent job, even though we didn't have much of a great roster. And that was only for 60 games. And then obviously the MLB decided to let Cora come back in, and Cora's expressed many times publicly that he thanks the Red Sox because he didn't know he can never get a second chance. He was extremely emotional many times. So you can see from his face that he not only thanks the league for him not having come back, but just he got to really get his life back together. Honestly, just because people outside of Red Sox Nation, even some Red Sox fans out there, if they feel so that way, didn't really want him anymore. People kind of just made him to be, a bad person, or just turned out to be something very guilty for something, which he understands what he did was wrong. But I think that he has kind of seen this as a situation where I'm not saying he's fully moved on, but I think he loves baseball, and the Red Sox are happy enough to get him back, and see this manager as a good opportunity to keep winning some ball games, and he's done a great job. And for the Yankees situation, you look at the Astros, and obviously they got caught, with the cameras from center field, or the trash cans that happened. And the Yankees, obviously, if they get investigated, they get caught. It's a lot of these. It turns out to be a lot of these big market, big time teams. I'm not saying that the small market teams don't get caught, but it just seems like from a lot of like the last couple of years, it turns out to be a lot of more of these bigger type ball clubs. So like I said, I haven't really looked more into this. I did kind of see a report about it. And so obviously if more kind of leaks out that, we kind of have to talk more about, then
we're going to have to. But anyways,
that's kind of the only stuff that I got into. But yeah, I do appreciate you obviously, mentioned it, just because, I did have a little bit to say. I just obviously, analyzing wise, probably need to read a little bit more to get into some more detail.
Anyways, let's stay on the New York Yankees for a moment. As you know, they're prepared to make a big contract extension for Aaron Judge. And you know what I think? I think that the Yankees are going to keep Aaron Judge. I think Aaron Judge, when healthy, he is the face of the Yankees franchise. he's turned out when healthy. He's just got to stay healthy though. But I do think that I don't see him leaving the Yankees after this season though. I think that the Yankees are going to give the best offer that they can to Aaron Judge.
Yeah, so I mean, as of right now, I mean, as a Red Sox fan myself, I would love to see Aaron Judge leave the Yankees just because he doesn't have to terrorize us anymore. But to be fair, he's a Yankee that I've definitely had a lot of love for and respect. He says a lot of the right things. He doesn't come out as a you know what. Yes, obviously I've lost a little respect here and there for his vaccination situation, which is obviously another story for another day. But he's an exceptional ball player. Great power, big time bat, and you know, it's really the Yankees' fault if they don't pay him. Right? I look at this kind of a Mookie situation. Mookie was supposed to be our franchise player for the long term. We kind of spit the whole bit, and we decided to kind of pay like a small market ball club. And Mookie said, I love you guys, but if you're going to do that to me after kind of what I've given you for so long, I'm not saying in a way like screw you, but essentially like I'm going to go somewhere else where I can get paid and have a good chance to win, just like you guys. So obviously he went to a good situation with your Dodgers, and he's done a great job there. And but obviously our GM is kind of building up for our farm, which obviously is one thing that kind of hurt the Mookie Betts situation because we got traded a lot of prospects, and Heinz Bloom's done also a great job. As much as people kind of criticize him for not going big, which by the way, he just made something big. So, I think it's kind of a win-win after all in the way. Mookie obviously it's a regret situation because I think many people wanted Mookie for the long term, and I think Mookie also felt that maybe he was going to be a Red Sox for life. But this is an Aaron Judge. This is kind of a Yankee perspective of kind of what a Mookie Betts situation can be. Obviously, we're kind of in this situation too with Xander Bogaerts and Rafael Devers. If we decide to not pay these two guys, it's going to hurt us big bad time. It's going to hurt us badly, especially with Heinz Bloom saying, countless times that those two guys are part of our cornerstone franchise altering type players. You obviously want to pay what they deserve. So, the Aaron Judge, I think that he will be a Yankee for life. He even expressed it, to the media this past couple of days ago. He wants to be in the pinstripes. But Loro, it all comes down to financials, right? If
Yes, it
he's
does.
not,
But you're not saying that Aaron Judge is leaving the Yankees. I think he's staying with the Yankees, and I think he's going to be a
yeah, no,
huge. He's still a huge part of this Yankees lineup, and
yep,
we got to talk about some other things with the New York Yankees too, besides Aaron Judge. I'm kind of
right,
wanted to talk to you about who do I think will be the starting infield for the New York Yankees. You know that Donaldson and Rizzo will be at first and third. I
mm,
would keep Connor Falefa at short, but I would not. I would take Gleyber Torres out of the lineup and keep DJ LeMahieu in there.
right. So, before I get into that, I just want to kind of get to the latest on the Judge stuff. So, today was like arbitration day. So, the Yankees actually signed 11 of their 12 eligible players, leaving actually Aaron Judge out of that with the hopes of them trying to sign a long term extension before opening day. Hear me out on this, Loro. Aaron Judge has until April 7th. So April 7th is right. I think that's opening day today. I'm not terribly
Yeah,
sure.
that is. That's when the
Um,
Yankees play the
so
Boston Red Sox
so
for the opener. So it's basically you got your Red Sox and the Yankees starting to renew the next rivalry
yeah,
of the next decade.
yeah. I have a bunch of Yankee fans, and I was actually expressing like possibly some interest to go to maybe one of those games of that weekend, which would be, I think, a lot of fun. But we'll see in terms of how that works out if it happens to be that way. Um, but yeah, Aaron Judge has until opening day to make a decision, in terms of if he's going to be there long term. But it's really all the Yankees if they can pay him. Obviously, let's transition in terms of what you were talking about, and that's the infield. I agree with you. I think the two cornerstones there are Donaldson, who obviously got the trade package for the Geo, and the Gary Sanchez trade, and then obviously Anthony Rizzo at first, who obviously they got a 2-year extension with after passing up on a couple of guys and Matt Olson and Freeman, who are kind of I'd say on their radar for a little while. And then shortstop, I think, is going to be Connor Falefa. Wait. Yeah,
kind
I
of
think
fell
it's
off
probably
at
kind of
short. And I
premature.
don't predict Glaber in the lineup. I think Glaber's just going
Yeah.
to be on the bench just
Well,
because.
Glaber apparently, I guess, has looked really good in spring. I think the Yankees really kind of are hopeful that he kind of can go back to his pre because last year he was horrible, in terms of his standards. But the year before he was pretty good.
I mean, the
Now,
Yankees have options. Like
yeah,
you
they
could
do.
always you could always DH Glaber and put
Mhm.
Stanton in right and move Aaron Judge to center field.
Yeah, well, I think Aaron Boone was saying that he's going to try to play more Stanton in the outfield because they want to keep his bat. Which, I mean, as a Red Sox fan myself, I don't know why they didn't really go much of that. I don't think really they did a lot of that last year. I think they really kind of had Stanton DH in a lot, and I
Stanton
think
to me
too
should
it's
DH, but
yeah.
I do think that you put Stanton in right and you put
Mhm.
Aaron Judge in
No,
center.
why Judge and center? I
No,
think
because
left
the
Stanton
starting
left.
pit. No, because Joey Gallo's in left.
True. Yeah, no. If Stanton's on the outfield, I mean, I guess Judge. You could say Judge has played center, so I guess you can kind of go different ways. It's just I always just see Judge as either a DH or right field. That's kind of all. Just
I'm
kind of like
kind of thinking
standard.
how Aaron Boone's going to construct his lineup now that
Yeah.
Sanchez is gone, and every Yankee fan should be happy that Gary Sanchez is gone. I
They
personally,
also they also have to see the situation with Brett Gardner too because he's still a free agent. I think really the only two teams that he could be at is a reunion. Actually, three situations: a reunion with the Yankees, which could be very possible still. I think that they're just in love with him. I also read a report that maybe the Blue Jays can maybe use him for like an extra outfield, which I think could be very fascinating. Maybe that's like a bench piece. And then obviously the next one could be a retirement because obviously he's played feels like forever. So obviously, we'll see how that goes. But the reason why I said that is because if Garner comes back, I don't think that he will be a starter because you also have to take in this effect, Loro. Aaron Hicks. Aaron Hicks, I think that they want to play Aaron Hicks quite a bit still in the outfield.
they do, but I kind of
They want
think
to see
that
that he can kind of get back to his because he was out for a lot of this past season. If Aaron
I'm
Hicks
kind of
can,
thinking that Aaron
um,
Hicks might just go to the bench just because I feel like that Aaron Boone wants to get Glaber's bat in the lineup, and then he
yeah,
could, or a crazy idea. I would I would try Glaber Torres in the outfield because he runs very well.
yeah. Well, another thing crazy too to hear me out on this, and you know, obviously Isaiah wouldn't be too thrilled because of his ace, but there has been some chatter, kind of some like leaked proposed deals. If they don't feel, if like Glaber feels that he's not getting like any time in the field and like they want to try to get his bat, I preferably think maybe go to a place different, even though I know it's
Yeah,
before opening day,
here's the
definitely
thing: the A's could
the
trade
ace
Montas and
or
Manaea
Manaya.
to New York to
I
the
could really still
Yankees.
I could really still see that happening. As much as I don't want to see it, I've just seen a lot of reports, maybe because I don't know if you saw the report today from John Heyman, but it seems like the Reds are still affirmed to keep Luis Castillo and Tyler Mahle still on their roster, preferably lower. If the way I see that with that situation there is, I think that the Reds are probably going to wait till the trade deadline. Maybe that they can get some more value that way because I feel like they could probably still be tradable assets to a contending type team because I don't see them to be a contending type team at all by the trade
No,
deadline.
of
No.
course. I mean, I was saying that I think Garrett Cole is fine. I think
Mhm.
Severino needs
Right.
to work his way to being healthy again.
Yeah,
You
no,
know, is
Severino's gonna be
not.
fine. Just making sure he gets mechanics location.
No, are
He
you
has
talking about
different electric stuff.
Are you talking about Severino? Do you think that he'll be a number two starter when healthy?
Yeah,
And
I
Garrett
think
Cole.
Cole will be one for sure. Montgomery's still there. He'll probably be a three. Um, they also have Luis Heel, promising in prospect in their rotation. And then
I think the
trying
Yankees
to think
just
of who
need to
else they
get
have.
more guys in the rotation, and I
Yeah,
think that they're going to contend. I think the Yankees are a
yeah.
really talented team. I know you don't like to hear that, but
No,
I
no,
know
no. I'm listen, man. I give credit where credit's due.
a
I
lot
don't
of
really
people
hate the
a lot of
Yankees. I'm
people
not
think is
as a Red
Brian
Sox fan.
Cashman going to get fired at the end of the season. I'm like, no. Brian Cashman has done a great job with this roster, and he has been a fixture of the Yankees for so many years. But a lot of people question: is he a puppet to the
Yeah,
Steinbrenners? I don't think
yeah,
he is
no,
a puppet.
yeah, no. Going back to my feel with the Yankees, I would say I really don't. I really hate them, because hate to me is just a strong word. The team I really hate is Montreal from hockey. That's kind of the team I just am not like straight up. But the Yankees, I just don't like. That's obviously a hate, and it's just a strong dislike. I would say more of a strong dislike. That's kind of my term for the Yankees. But I do have a lot of respect in terms of their past, but obviously the past is the past, and we own the 2000s regardless of what they say. We've also owned them in the last several postseasons.
You've
So I
owned
mean,
them in so many
we've owned
postseason
them.
games.
We've owned them for like the last several years. So I mean, I don't want, as much as I have a bunch of Yankee fans myself, which I do have a lot of Yankee fans, especially a lot of friends, myself being from Yankee territory. I just kind of have to kind of keep them kind of affirm that, hey, like, I get you guys might have the past in the past. It's kind of like in a way with like, this might be like a terrible comparison, but like if the Bills kind of get up to the Patriots, I'm not saying their level per se, but like Bills fans, I mean the only difference is like the Patriots kind of just own the Bills for so long, like 20 years. Like the Yankees really haven't like owned the Red Sox for like that long of time. Like the Yankees like really had the Red Sox number for a long period of time, and I just think that it's just kind of just flipped the script, for a while. And to answer your question, uh, yeah, Cashman definitely should be on the hot seat. If they have an underperforming type season, because look at the amount of free agents that they had this past off season.
Look,
They could have gotten anywhere.
Brian
With
Cashman
all their
missed out
money.
on big time free agents, and
Yeah,
and I think that if that tells you something, that means that Hal Steinbrenner might have to tell Brian Cashman, "Thank you for what you've done for the past 2 decades, but we
yeah.
want to change. We want
No,
to
I mean,
we
the
want new leadership."
let me tell you this. I mean, listen, you look at the LA, they have high standards. The Yankees, I mean, in my era, this stuff talk radio shows, you would think that like they actually get ripped on the daily from a lot of reporters out here in New York. It's just the constant just unperforming, underachieving, which I think is a very big thing with the Yankees. It's not like they have a good roster, but it's just like the Stein brothers and Castro just feel like, oh, everything's gonna be fine. And you see what, and Aaron Boone also said too. Yeah, hopefully we'll turn around the corner. That's kind of one of my funny lines with him, because like he'll just
Aaron
say
Boone
it,
should have been
right?
fired last year, though.
He'll say it. He'll say, "Yeah, we'll turn the corner." If like they're going to like, a little bit like a losing streak in here, and then like people just make out. He just makes it out to kind of feel like everything's okay, which really things are not.
Aaron Boone,
Which I
I
can't
mean,
really
his
complain because I'm a
decisions
Red
are
Sox
very
fan.
questionable.
It's mind-boggling in terms of some of like what they do, and then the fact is like they don't even pay Aaron Judge today in terms of for his arbitration. It's like, what does this franchise
That's going
come
to
down
get
to?
Brian Cashman out the door.
Yeah, if you don't pay arguably a franchise player, for all your standards, I mean, especially after the brutal offseason in terms of all the free agents that were out there, you didn't get one. Look at the Reds. Look at this from a Red Sox perspective, Laura. Right? Hear me out on this. And this is obviously going to be an absolute slam dunk on me to get the Yankee fans, even though I love some of them. But you have one of the richest owners in MLB right now.
That's
So,
the Steinbrenner family.
John Brennan family. You essentially, as much as I love him, Heimblum, he is a nerd. He comes from like a nerd background, nerd school or whatever. And he just goes through like a lot of the science, the analytics. People obviously in Boston just like, it's a small market feel, with the Tampa Bay Braves. You let essentially Heimblum, a guy that really pays high level type players, but with all the guys that are out there in this free agency, you essentially let him take a guy. And the Yankees essentially got away with Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. Josh Johnson's getting older, even though he can hit some power. Kiner-Falefa is okay. And you also got Marlon Gonzalez in a minor league deal, and you traded away Gary
NCRT
Saint.
too. NCRT could make the team.
Yeah. But look at this. There are a lot of just plug and play type of guys, some filling guys, some older guys. The Yankees could have gotten extraordinarily better. If you got a guy like a Matt Olson, if you get a guy like a Freddie Freeman, if you get a guy like a Trevor Story, if you get a guy like a Carlos Correa, think about this. Carlos Correa went to the Minnesota Twins, a team that's been absolutely owned by the Yankees. And Yankee fans are just absolutely just shivering their boots right now. They don't know how to feel, because like, is any good type of player want to come here anymore? It's just like now if
Look,
Aaron Judge doesn't get paid long term,
look,
like
look
they're
at New
just
York now.
I'm not
Who are
saying they're
they
gonna
wanting
break
to play
apart.
for now? It's the Mets
Oh, hey, I mean
with
the biggest
Steve Cohen. Steve Cohen is the richest owner, and he has
yeah.
done a great job in
Well,
making and putting
you
the
look at
Mets
it
in
this way.
position to win now.
You look at it this way, Laura. I think Steve Cohen's kind of going with a lot of like the early Yankee days, right? The Yankees for many seasons they decided to kind of see if average is not good enough. They obviously would build, and build, and add and add. Now the Yankees are just kind of saying, oh, we had this time in our family, Aaron Boone, Cashman. We're just kind of looking at this. We should be okay on paper, so we're just going to kind of ride with it. But hey, you just look at what the Blue Jays have done. As a Red Sox fan, they still scare me. You look at the Rays, kind of their analytics. They're just annoying, pesky team.
And Kevin, look, you know who their manager is. He used to play on your Red Sox, Kevin Cash, and he's done a great job down in Tampa Bay.
A lot of good young prospects. Obviously, Wander Franco is just a machine. It's gonna be a torture for us for years. In a good and a bad way. And then you obviously, the Yankees, obviously the Yankees, but you look at our team. Our team legitimately, as much as our pitching is kind of, I would say, it has a lot of struggles, a lot of holes. We just beat them. We just beat the Yankees in the Walker game with essentially a roster that was projected fourth place this past season, and I think we're being projected fourth place this season too because nobody gave us a chance, and we are 2 wins away from going to the World Series and essentially a gauntlet American League. So that just kind of says something. The Yankees are kind of looking at this of like, okay, Boston's still going to be there. Blue Jays are going to still be there in the race. And you're just going to be like, okay, the roster's going to be good. It's going to be good, but how much can that elevate you? I still look at this, and I know if you want to get to some American, and I think we went to some American League projections, but the way that I see this right now, I think Toronto and Tampa Bay are kind of your top two. I think that the Yankees and Red Sox have been kind of battling out for third. Really.
And then the Orioles are looking up, and you know how bad of an organization they are. It's fault. I kind of think that the Orioles are probably going to have to fire him at the end of the season.
Listen, it just you look, if you're an Oriole fan, man. I mean, I just send my regards to you. I mean, you just look at how long you can go for. You look at just a ball that's just like, oh, we're never going to get out of this, right? So many just talents wise from just everywhere. I know that they were kind of in that little Carlos Correa sweepstakes, but
yeah, I didn't. I was going to go to Baltimore because
they really don't have a
whole lot. Not good of a team.
Yeah, they don't. The Orioles really don't have much of. They have a decent farm, not great, but they don't have a lot of just household premier names, right? I do love Cedric Mullins. I think he's criminally underrated. I've told you I love Cedric Mullins. I personally think that he would thrive on a really good team.
I was going to say you could put the Baltimore Orioles in the same category as the Arizona Diamondbacks as worst teams in baseball heading into this season.
Yeah, no, it's just.
But I'll tell you what, with the Diamondbacks.
Eventually, Loro, a lot of these.
I'm saying, speaking of the Diamondbacks, I like some of their players, like David Peralta, Ketel Marte, Christian Walker's a good hitter, but I just think that no stars are going to go there because Ken Kendrick's a owner. I think Mike Hazen and Torey Lovullo are going to get the boot at the end of the season.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. I think that there'll be some calls for Ketel Marte and Peralta probably the trade deadline. They've been calling. And those are the two guys. I think the Yankees. I think Ketel Marte could be a really good fit. Because the Yankees obviously have a lot of prospects. Arizona definitely can ship off, and there's one move that I would love the Red Sox to maybe move. You might be surprised about this, but I've listened to a Red Sox podcast the other day with a couple of people I really like and enjoy. And this would be kind of not a household move type, but it'd be a decent trade. And it would be for Will Myers. Because Will Myers could be in the outfield.
Myers from the Padres? Are you kidding me?
From Padres, yeah. And I think that you could trade somebody from the Red Sox, because essentially this is the way I look at this. You can get Will Myers and a decent prospect that is a really good pitching prospect, and you can get probably some decent game back for them. And obviously the biggest thing about Will Myers is he wouldn't cost you a whole lot. He obviously is not the same guy he used to be, but you plug him down, he's not a terrible fielder, but I think that would be a decent thing. You look at a guy like Chris Paddock, right? Chris Paddock, um, he obviously he's not the same pitcher that he used to be, kind of early on, but I just think the Red Sox need some back end pitching, and I think that obviously the back end pitching can work with potential like a trade that wouldn't cost you a whole lot, I don't know, financially, which is obviously something Hein Bloom, really keys eye on in terms of keeping that flexibility number at a decent spot. But that's one type of move that would not type of surprise me, just because I personally think that they still need a little bit in their arms and back end. Richard Rodriguez, I think, would be a really fun add. But yeah, I think that Will Myers trade proposal that I've been kind of lurking and seeing kind of over social media, a couple days, could be very, very fascinating.
Anyways, let's talk about some other free agents now. I mean, let's talk about Michael Conforto. Where do you think he's likely going to sign with? Is it San Diego or the Colorado Rockies? I'm going to say Michael Conforto signs with. I'm going to do it. I think you could move Charlie Blackmon to DH full time. I like Sam Hilliard though, but I think Sam Hilliard's more of a reserve. I'm going to do this. Colorado Rockies for Michael Conforto.
So, are those the kind of the two front running teams? Is that why you kind of name them, or are they just two teams that you just kind of saw the void for?
I picked two teams. It's between San Diego and Colorado, but I picked Colorado just because I think Blackmon can move to DH, put Conforto in right, keep Chris Bryant in left, and put Ramel Tapia in center.
Okay. I've always loved the reunion. Actually, two teams. One I would say, I don't know if it makes more sense, but I think it'd be really interesting down in their lineup. Two American League teams. One's gonna be the Seattle Mariners because he's obviously from that Washington area. I think that could be still an interesting bat. And the Chicago White Sox. I think the White Sox with Michael Conforto, you kind of could put him like the mid part of their lineup. Kind of can give them a little bit add. I'm not sure the right field situation, but I think that the White Sox could obviously be another piece. Michael Conforto, I think, is not going to get. He turned out a huge offer from the Mets, but that's why I think that the Mets don't really have much of a chance to require him back for maybe like a short team deal. But if teams are not offering big on Michael Conforto, it just might be better if he takes kind of a short deal from the Mets and then maybe tries to test the market after this next year. But I don't see it. I think that he goes on and he tries to go for a new change and a new home. And obviously, he's the top guy from kind of the remaining bats that we have here for the free agents.
I think he's going to sign before the end of the week. I want to see him in it with a team though, but I predict Colorado, then San Diego. But if it's San Diego, I mean San Diego might need an outfielder, but I think it's between San Diego and Colorado though, because
it's kind of interesting you mentioned San Diego because I believe Will Myers plays right field, and if Michael Conforto plays right, he does play right field. That obviously opens up maybe a trade.
I mean, can Profar start in left field? Profar is a utility guy.
No, I don't see He's just a smaller guy. I only see him for infield or a DH.
I mean, here's the thing with the Padres. They're going to have to do a lot of work without Fernando Tatis Jr. And I tell you what, the Padres are a better baseball team when Fernando Tatis Jr. is on the baseball field. I like the kid. He's a phenomenal ball player, but he's just got to stay healthy, and that fractured wrist really annoyed me.
Yeah, as much as you love Tatis, and I love Tatis for sure, a lot of things have just happened with him, the last couple of seasons.
Bob Melvin even laid down the law on Nando.
It just seems like one thing happens over the other with Fernando Tatis. It sucks because he's an absurd talent. I think he might be not only if it's not Ohtani, probably up there in terms of the most electrifying athletes in baseball. It's just, remember baseball, a lot of people were saying it's boring. It's not much to watch. You get a lot of people outside of baseball just watching baseball now because of guys like Shohei Ohtani, because of guys like Fernando Tatis Jr. And I think just Fernando Tatis Jr. is just a must see almost every single night. That's another reason why I'm excited to get my MLB TV back, because I can get to see some other games and obviously watch some of your Dodgers and watch obviously some other teams that, MLB TV to me is a lot of fun. It definitely costs a little bit. I think it's gonna be like 120 this season, but you get to see any type of team that you want. Unless you want to pay single team, which you can, it's a little bit cheaper. But Fernando Tatis Jr. is a big reason why I stay up a couple nights and just say, hey, Don Arcelo's there, Fernando Tatis Jr. is there. Let's make it happen. Let's watch some Padre baseball.
You know that Don Arcelo says "Slam Diego."
Yeah, I don't know how much they'll keep that motto going, but for that year,
Slam Diego's. I think that's still the motto. Slam Diego.
Right. I just feel like at that time everything was just spinning right there. Grand Slam at the Grand Slam, call it something. They obviously had the shirts going around, and Padres obviously, like, for a while they've been a fun story. Right? They obviously have a ton of talent there, and they just now have to see how things work out. It's obviously your Dodgers have gone much better. Obviously, adding Freeman, and obviously
the Dodgers should be the top team in home runs, by the way, and they should be smashing some more Grand Slams.
Dodgers should be ahead in a lot of things. So, I mean, you should be probably excited for many things just because the talent's already there. That's enormous. But you obviously add probably essentially the best free agent out there position-wise. So, that obviously puts it to a really good lineup to essentially a nightmarish lineup, to put it kindly, with that team.
Anyways, let's rank our top 5 best second, short, and third basemen heading into the 2022 season. Be ready for this. My top 5 second basemen heading into this season are, number 1 for me is from the Atlanta Braves. He's a World Series champion, and he's going to have a great year again this year. That's Ozzie Albies. Number 2, I don't like this guy, even though he is an overrated player from the Houston Astros, Mr. Sign Stealer, and Mr. Liar, or I might say, Jose Altuve. And then my third best second baseman is DJ LeMahieu from the New York Yankees. This guy's very versatile. I mean, he can play short, he can play second, he can play first. That's Jake Cronenworth from the San Diego Padres. And this guy is going to be really good. I think that he's going to continue getting better, swinging the bat. He's great defensively. He has Gold Glove defense at second base for the Miami Marlins. That is Jazz Chisholm.
So I like Jazz. I'm going to probably go with 5. Not that was a really good pick from you. I'd say Jose, as much as we don't like him, I like him as a player overall to see his talent. I'm probably going to put him at 4. Jake Cronenworth probably at 3. There's a ton of great talents, though, here. Ketel Marte, I'm probably going to go 2. And then I'm going to go 1A and a 1B. Ozzie Albies and DJ LeMahieu. I think that DJ LeMahieu is a very good glove overall. I probably have Ozzie Albies probably as my top. But you can really – I'm not even trying to put this really into words just because a lot of those guys are extremely elite. So, yeah.
And for my shortstops, my number 1 ranked shortstop is a guy that can hit the ball to all fields. He's a guy that can hit triples and all that, and a guy that's not reliant on power, and that's Trey Turner. And then number 2, I miss this guy every day from the Dodgers, who I wished we could have kept, but hey, he went to the Texas Rangers for the money. And I think he's going to be a great addition to the Texas Rangers and their lineup, and that's Corey Seager. Number 3, that guy's got to stay healthy, and he's got to make right choices. And the San Diego Padres are going to be a scary and dangerous team if he's healthy, and he's a big part of it. And that's Fernando Tatis Jr. Number 4, he's a guy that I think is one of the who formed the Killer Bees with Mookie Betts, JBJ. and that Boston Red Sox team that won them the world championship in 2018, Xander Bogaerts. And number 5, I don't know why he went to Minnesota. He should have went on a winning team. He should have stayed in Houston. That's Carlos Correa.
All right. Well, I have a little bit more than 5 here that I think are going to have a lot of good years ahead. So, I'm going to put Trevor Story. Really, I think that Trevor Story is going to be due for a big year. I could have had him at in one of my second base, but I'm going to have him there. I think it's going to be, like I said, a really fun fit. Couple other guys that you have not mentioned that I think are going to be having have good years. Criminally underrated. 2 guys I really like, but watch out for Francisco Lindor to have a huge year. I really like him.
Sorry, I snubbed them, by the way, because there's so many good shortstops I love, and I had to put Trey Turner up there just because Trey Turner is now moving back to his natural position now that Corey Seager left to join the Texas Rangers.
Yeah, so I'm gonna have like 7 or 8. So I'm gonna go with Francisco Lindor. I'm gonna go with Wander Franco. I think Wander Franco is really criminally underrated. He's a young guy. He's just going to get better. But also, too, Loro, how about Dansby Swanson? Dansby Swanson's been a really good piece of Atlanta Braves. He plays a great glove. Obviously, helped him out with the World Series last year. The AL Gold Glove Award winner at shortstop. Do you happen to remember who that was?
Tim Anderson.
J.P. Crawford. I think J.P. Crawford is extremely underrated. Leads off for the Mariners. Gets on base a lot, so I'm going to put him there too as well for top 7. And then you kind of go through more of like your Premier Elite guys, Corey Seager. Last year, I'm not saying this guy's elite, but after a really horrible year in 2020, Nicky Lopez from the Kansas City Royals, he batted 201 in 2020, but he got a chance this past year with Mondesi getting hurt, and he played pretty well. You also have to say Javi Baez. Javi Baez plays a very good glove at shortstop.
He's probably going to be playing shortstop with the Tigers.
Yeah, he's going to have a chance to. Tim Anderson. Tim Anderson, I extremely love. Always gives the Red Sox fits. Extremely good. AL batting title winner in 2019. Xander, obviously. Bo Bichette. Bo Bichette, I think, is going to have a much better year in the club this season, so I'm going to go with Bo Bichette. And then, also can't forget about Brandon Crawford. Brandon Crawford from the Giants.
Yeah, he's on my enemy team, though, on the team I hate in the San Francisco Giants. But anyway, speaking of the Giants,
And then you have the last couple guys. Sorry to cut you off. You have Tatis, Trey Turner, and
I was saying
Correa.
that with Brandon Crawford, even though that I hate the Giants as a Dodgers fan myself, I do like Brandon Crawford. He's a great defensive shortstop, and the Giants got better with Jock Peterson playing left field. He's going to provide some. He's going to be a good addition into the middle of their lineup. That's what I think.
Yep.
And he's going to be a good complement to Mike Yastrzemski in the outfield. I think the Giants. I think that they're going to be still a good team, but I think that you don't want to sleep on them if you're a Dodgers fan or anything like that. But
no, the Giants, I think they're going to be still right there in the pack. I don't think that they're going to be. I think the Padres were very underwhelming this past season. I think that they go back up. I think maybe the Giants kind of take a step back, but they're going to be definitely a hard team to play against.
You still think the Giants will take a step back, but you think that Gabe Kapler is still going to do a good job for this team and give them a winning record?
Yeah, no, I still think that they're going to be kind of right there in the middle. But just because the Padres kind of took such a step back, I think they're going to get better this season with Bob Melvin. And then
Bob Melvin's a great pickup for the Padres.
Yeah, so add him in.
That's the manager that the Padres needed. They needed somebody with experience, somebody that can control a clubhouse. Jace Tingler could not do that.
No, not really. So.
And for my top 5 third baseman is number 1. You used to see him on the Baltimore Orioles. He was on my Dodgers for 1 year, and then he had a bad World Series against your Red Sox. And I think that he's still a good third baseman. I think that he's still a great power. He has great power, and I do expect him to hit over 30 home runs this year. And he's still that guy that could still hit a lot of home runs, but I sometimes question his personality, and that's Manny Machado. Number 2, he used to be a Dodger killer. Now a member of the St. Louis Cardinals. Rocky should have kept him. He should have finished his career in Colorado. That's Nolan
Yeah.
Arenado.
Maybe
Number
easily.
3,
That should be. Yeah.
he can play third base. He can play left field. That's Chris Bryant. I have him at third base, even though he can also play some left too. Number 4 is my guy, Justin Turner from my Los Angeles Dodgers. Gonna have another great season, and he has really turned his career around since he joined the Dodgers. He wasn't really a fit for the Orioles or the Mets. I just think that Justin Turner has been really the heart and soul of the Dodgers lineup, and he's also a great leader in the clubhouse, and he's also a great leader of men. If you know what I'm talking about with Justin Turner, and then number 5 is your man, Rafael Devers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, Rafi's a great hitter. I think that his defense can get a little bit better, but no, he plays an overall decent glove. He plays a good amount that, he's been our corner for many seasons, and I think that his defense gets better and better, and hopefully just keeps on improving.
Yeah, I mean, who do you have as your top 5 third baseman?
I mean, you really hit a lot of them that I was about to say. Arenado, Machado, Bryant, Devers. I could see maybe if there's any others that possibly we forgot.
Or did you mean Justin Turner from my Dodgers?
Turner, yeah. Jose Ramirez. That's another guy I really like.
I don't think the Guardians are going to trade him. I think that they still want to build their team around Jose Ramirez.
Yep. Austin Riley, who I really like from the Braves. He's a really good third baseman. And then my other guy, he found a new home, Mr. Matt Chapman.
From the Blue Jays. He just signed a 2-year extension. We got to talk about what your thoughts are when he signed that 2-year extension with the Blue Jays. I think that the Blue Jays are definitely they've been so far the winners of this offseason.
Yeah. You're lucky you don't have to face them for many times in your division. Plus, too, Loro, the other thing that has the Blues their advantage, not only spending a lot, but a lot of the unvaccinated players, some big time players that have to go there, might not be able to play. So I mean, they have that advantage too. That some Blue Jays obviously added their pitching. They got Kikuchi, they have Gosman, they have Manoah.
He might pick for AL Rookie of the Year because I think he's going to have a great year.
And then obviously you have absolute stout lineup: Springer, Vladi. I think Biggio will get much better this season. We obviously played in the minors a lot this past season, but he's a high prospect. Bichette is obviously a great player. Teoscar Hernandez is very underrated. Really good hitter, like their 5-hole. It's scary. They're going to be a really big pass this season. They should be really fun though on paper if we don't have to face them. Like whenever the Red Sox aren't facing them. I'll definitely key on how they've been doing. And then obviously you add a Gold Glover and Matt Chapman. He's not the best hitter, but he'll hit you 14, 15 homers probably. Obviously knocking some runs here and there. So yeah, it's obviously a really good lineup, and hopefully the Red Sox with their hopefully add some pitching because they for sure scare me with our thin pitching staff, to say the least. But it should be a lot of fun to see them definitely get much better this season.
Before we end, I mean, we got to talk about some Cardinals news here that they might not even have Jack Flaherty for the beginning of the season. And I think that's big for the Cardinals because you got to have some of your stars out there for the beginning of the season. That way it's easier for you down the stretch. And losing a guy like Jack Flaherty at that caliber, that hurts the St. Louis Cardinals.
Yeah, no, that's a huge loss. Flaherty's a great pitcher. I actually had the chance to see Flaherty pitch a couple years ago, actually in Queens. I forgot who the Mets were going. I think maybe DeGrom, because I happen to see DeGrom pitch a lot. But no, he's a good pitcher, and he's for sure is their ace. They obviously still have Wainwright. They have Miles Mikolas. So they have some other pieces that maybe be able to start. I'm not sure he's going to probably start for them opening day.
Don't Wainwright. I mean, I've always liked Adam Wainwright. He is such a good starting pitcher, but his He's not
Yeah.
the same pitcher he once was when it comes to
No,
velocity
obviously
wise. He
not.
could still
No.
give you innings. He could still pitch six or
He's
seven innings.
he's an innings eater. I mean, he obviously throws one of the best Uncle Charlies that we've seen for many years. I'd put him up for top 20, probably best curveballs that I've probably seen. Obviously, he's been well known to throw that called strike three in the playoffs. Carlos Beltran. Sorry, Met fans out there, but for the playoffs, he absolutely froze Carlos Beltran, and the rest was history there. I'm not sure how the Cardinals did after the fact, but they know that they won that series against the Mets because Wainwright threw the final strike three call. But he's been a legend there. Wainwright has. He's had a great career. This is probably his last year. I think that he was kind of on the cusp of maybe retiring this past season, but I think he gave it, essentially kind of told his parents and family one more chance. Kind of, I think,
I
a little
think
way our good friend Tom Brady might,
I
kind of
think
essentially
I think
saying,
if you look at it this way
win
for
my
the
kid.
Cardinals, I think Albert Pujols is going to come back to the Cardinals and join Yachty and Wainwright one last time.
Yeah, no, Pujols, I'm not sure is still has found his team yet. I don't,
No, I
he's
still
still.
predict he's. I still predict he's going to be a Cardinal.
No, that would be if he's not, on a team yet. I think would be so really cool, to finish off his career in terms of kind of where he started. So yeah, we'll see in terms of who fills in for Flaherty. I think presumably we're probably in agreement that it's probably gonna be Wainwright.
And I think Pujols will remain I think Pujols will go to the will go to the we'll go back to the Cardinals. That's what I predict. But anyways, before we go to head trivia here, I'm going to tell you here's some of our hot takes here on umpires. I'm so glad that Joe West retired. I'm happy for him, but he was awfully bad behind the plate. He would he would waste a lot of time behind the plate with his boneheaded calls that did not make sense behind the plate when he would call strike three. And when people complained that it was a ball, Joe West was not my favorite behind the plate.
No, he for sure. I don't really criticize umpires a lot. You know, I just kind of let them do their job. But man, he was, he was so well known, but for obviously very terrible things. Angel Hernandez, of course, kind of takes him over, but that's kind of,
Angel Hernandez is awfully bad. Oh my God. I cannot stand Angel Hernandez umpiring behind home plate. When he umpires Dodger games, when he's behind the plate, I'm like, are you kidding me? You have that bozo behind the plate, and
it's so hard to watch. It really is. And
his strike three calls are useless.
No, I mean, like it's never consistent with him in terms of his zone. It's just like, you know, and obviously, I don't know if you remember the big Joe West kind of signature moment in terms of what happened with him. But he was, I think, the umpire at first base that blew the Galarraga perfect game.
Oh my God, Jim Joyce. That still stings.
I'm still trying to remember who that Indians hitter was that got that hit. I'm trying to remember his name. But I even think like he even agreed, like, hey, like I got the hit to break it, but it seemed like I was out. And yeah, no, that obviously kind of like the big signature moment in terms of like how I thought he just was not gonna be in.
You remember when Angel Hernandez was when he had to keep going on the headsets in the 2018 ALDS when he called these safe and out calls at first base.
It was just a disaster with Angel Hernandez. Every single time, I always kind of before games just make sure I look at the umpires. Like I said, I'm not a big criticizer in terms of umpires, but if I see those two guys out there for our game, boy oh boy, I just know that's going to be in for a long night.
CB Buckner, he's also bad.
Yeah, CB, he's been like a long.
CB Buckner's if you get in his face, he's gonna yell at you back.
Yeah.
That's what CB Buckner is.
I always like the umpires that do like kind of like the strike three. They kind of like go like that, kind of just like.
Are you talking about Tom Hallion?
Like the ones that really like just go out, like because mostly they just go like this, strike three or whatever. Just kind of like they're obviously like hear like their big noise. Oh, like the strike three. It's just like oh,
you're doing an impersonation. That's Bill Miller does that, and Tom Hallion also does that. But I also Tom Hallion is my favorite umpire. He's a guy that Tom Hallion is he's a guy that twists a lot, but I also don't like Phil Cuzzy in a way because his strike zone Phil Cuzzy's strike zone is way too big, and he did a Dodger game last year against the Rockies, and that's what led Bud Black to get ejected. Bud Black was complaining at Phil Cuzzy on how big of the strike zone it was.
We'll see, man. Like I said, I don't try to criticize all the umpires out there, but there are obviously some ones that are for sure.
Yeah, remember when David Ortiz was yelling at Ron Culpa?
Yep.
That led him to getting ejected in his final Yankee Red Sox game.
Yep.
Absolutely. Anyways, let's go to some trivia here. So, who had the nickname Sandman?
Mariano.
You got that right. And as of 2021, what active manager has the most all-time wins?
Is he still managing right now?
Yes, he is currently the manager of the Chicago White Sox. And
Tony La Russa.
Yeah, I kind of think that Tony La Russa coming out of retirement to manage the White Sox was a great move for him.
Yeah, it's obviously, I think it was very split from the fan base, but he for sure he makes it very he's definitely an entertainer, I guess you can say. You know, when things don't go right, he obviously goes out and lets them have it, but he typically just
he had controversy with Yerman Mercedes last year, and I didn't like that.
Yeah, right. That felt forever ago, but no, that at a point in time, because Mercedes, who
the Yerminator's good.
Well, he lit the world on fire in April, right? And then he got demoted down to AAA, and he just really hasn't been the same guy since. He's still in the system, minor league, in the White Sox, system. So they still have him, but I think that he's definitely still has some work to do for sure, and he's still young, so maybe he can kind of get back to his April time. But April, he was just actually just going off. On top of in terms of all the other guys that they have, Abreu, Robert, Eloy Jimenez, they have an extraordinary, really good lineup. So,
anyways, for final thoughts, our next This Week in Baseball show will be on. It will be actually on Saturday at 9 p.m. Pacific time.
Okay, yeah, that should work. Looking forward to that. Hopefully, we get more clarity in terms of the couple other free agents that are still out there. Because now at this point in time, by the end of this coming weekend, it'll be the end of March, and then we'll get to kind of the
Final Four coming up, and
it's a really big time right now for sport fans. Obviously, March Madness is going to kind of get to. It's a really exciting time for sure. We have a couple NFL quarterbacks that are still out there. We'll see in terms of that happens. Obviously, football season. It's always exciting, wildly entertaining. Things happen. Feels like every day something happens. So that's obviously exciting. Baseball, you're in spring training, but you're almost at the end. Usually it's next week. You kind of start to have more players play more innings, multiple innings. So it's kind of more like a exhibition feel. So that's obviously very exciting. And then you kind of get to the real stuff, which is the best stuff. And then obviously hockey, as a hockey fan myself, it's a lot of guys to see where teams are at. The trade deadline actually just happened, and obviously the Bruins just added a very good defenseman that's going to be there for many years. So obviously we'll see in terms of how the Bruins are. They have a 1 to 2 year window, cup run, field window. The time is now, so we'll see in terms if they can do that. The Celtics are still lighting the world on fire. They're doing great, so really feel good about how my teams are. Patriots, on the other hand, obviously we'll talk more about that, down the road for sure. But yeah, my overall final thoughts are, before we conclude tonight is thanks once again for having me, Loro, like always. Good friend of mine. Love to always come on and talk some sports with you. And, baseball season's almost here, buddy. The regular season, the big stuff, like I said, is getting there. And, obviously we get to, like I said, the lockout, I had that feel, is ever baseball going to come back, and just seeing the crack of the bat, the cleats, obviously with these guys, just the sunshine out there, nothing is better. I mean, obviously football season's for me, golf season, you know, basketball, but like my favorite really between outside of football season, it's really just feeling that cracking bat feel, just the sunshine, the warm weather coming around. You just know that, it's that time again, which is really exciting because the lockout obviously is over. So it's all about getting to the fun stuff. So looking forward to it. Can't wait to talk more with you this coming weekend.
Yeah, on
And
Saturday for more because we're gonna have to speed up our process for top 5 rankings before we go back to our once a week show for this week in baseball, which is going to begin in the regular season. But tomorrow the Dodgers take on the Cleveland Guardians. I get to see them for the first time tomorrow. I mean, we play them in the regular season though, but I get to see Shane Bieber go up against Clayton Kershaw tomorrow. Not a good pitching matchup.
that'll be fun, yeah. I don't know if it's televised. I'll try to do what I can to watch a little bit.
It should
I
be
don't
on
know who the Red
MLB Network though. But your Red Sox tomorrow, they have a game tomorrow, right?
I don't really keep track of the spring training. I'll check right now though. Yeah, the Red Sox
Red
play.
Sox, the
They play the
Twins.
Twins. Yeah.
The Valdi's on the mound tomorrow.
Yeah, we got Nasty Nate here, so if
You
that
call
game
him
is
Nasty
on,
Nate? Nathan Eovaldi's going to have a great year. I have a feeling that he's an all-star type pitcher, and I can't wait to. I know that the Dodgers don't play the Red Sox this year in the regular season. I know that they'll start playing each other more often beginning next season.
yeah, no, it's just it's going to be an exciting season. I think the Red Sox have a lot going for them. Obviously, we'll see in terms of sales situation. We'll see if they add some more pieces, which I think that there still has room for improvement. But this team obviously is going to be competitive. Core is definitely going to have them ready, I think, on a really tough division. But I think that we're up for the challenge. I don't think that anything kind of phases us, especially after what happened last season. And I think we're just going to have to keep on building and do what we can to get ourselves even better. So I'm looking forward to it.
Anyways, Ben, you have a great night. I'll see you on Saturday.
All right, man. Thanks for having me.